Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to my channel. My name is David, and today we have a library tour. So, Steve Donahue, coming back from his short break, decided very early in one of his first videos back to do a library tour, to make 2022 the year of the library tour. And so he's going a shelf at a time, or two shelves, depending on how ambitious he is on his video, and showing the books that are on that shelf. And he challenged everybody to do this as well, to do a library tour for 2022. And so, of course, I had to live up to the call. So I am not going to be doing daily ones. That would not last very long. I've got 13 shelves over the course of the next 13 Saturdays. We will do a shelf a day. And I'll just go through the books. If there's anything to say about them, I'll let you know. I'll kind of let you know where I think I found them. If I know any of that, if I've read them, I'll let you know if they're worth reading. By and large, I've got more, I think, unread books than read books because I'm trying to both cultivate things that I want to read, rebuild my collection. So I'm prioritizing first and foremost ones that I have never read over ones that I already know that I've read, but I'm not ready to reread. But I'm slowly also picking up ones that are good staples to have on my shelf that I know that I'll want to revisit. And so the first 5 weeks are going to be science fiction because I have more science fiction than anything else right now. And that's thanks in part. Last year I had a couple of very cheap boxes of vintage science fiction that I got on eBay for very, very cheap, along with a box full of Edgar Rice Burroughs from Michael K. Vaughan. And so the second week will be pretty much an Edgar Rice Burroughs week because that's most of the next shelf. So I'm starting with the little half of what was up on there on display around the sump pump area. And then I'll be diving into that shelf behind me. So there will be those 4 shelves there. So it'll be science fiction and then rolls into fantasy. And then we'll head over here where we'll have one shelf of fantasy and weeping into Lewis and Tolkien, and then down into ancient and then medieval. And then we'll have Renaissance and then classics and poetry, and then bleeding into some history, and then odds and ends, and then historical fiction and other odds and ends. It'll take a while. We got plenty of time, and since I'm on the 100 book challenge, this is all the collection we're going to have. I don't expect to have finished that challenge in the next 13 weeks. So this is anticipated to be a very static number on what I'll be talking about. So let's dive right in because I've got, with these small trade paperbacks, a lot of them can fill up a little space. And some of these, like up there, I mean, that fits a good number of books. So these are alphabetical order by author. So this is Roger MacBride Allen, The Torch of Honor. I know absolutely nothing about this book. This is one of those in the vintage sci-fi box. It says a vanished ship, a sudden siege, and the only way out was to fight. That sounds interesting. So we have Brainwave by Poul Anderson. This is the only Poul Anderson I have. I actually found this at a library in their used book sale for, I think, $0.25. I said, I know that author, so I had to grab it because I needed a Poul Anderson. He's, I believe, one of the Appendix N authors. We have Foundation by Isaac Asimov. So this is was originally the first book in the Foundation series. There's 2 prequels now, which I've never read the prequels, but I've read Foundation, and it is fantastic. And then the second, what used to be the second book, Foundation and Empire by Isaac Asimov, which I've also read, and is also fantastic. And then wrapping up the original trilogy, Second Foundation by Isaac Asimov, I have not read past Second Foundation, but I have read Second Foundation and enjoy it as well. We have The Caves of Steel by Isaac Asimov. So this is the first book in the Robot series. I thought I had the second book in the Robot series, but I found when going back through, I think this is the third book, Robots of Dawn. This is one of those that I found when I was out on my indie bookshop tour, and this was the one book that I found at the place that disappointed me the most on that stop. And so I'm happy to have it. It's, I think, the third book. We have Robots in Dawn. So this is the exciting sequel to Robots of Dawn. We have Robot Visions by Isaac Asimov. So this is 36 magnificent stories and essays about his most beloved creations, robots. I'm excited to get into that one. And that's all the Asimov I have. I need a lot more Asimov. I'm kind of ashamed that that's all I have for Isaac Asimov. We have The Regiments of Night by Brian N. Ball. This is another one of those vintage books, but I mean, this is pristine condition. I mean, there's no breaking on the spine. So if any of these are good, let me know and I'll try to prioritize them, especially if they're short like this, so that I can get to them sooner. We have Sundog by B.N. Ball, another one of those vintage from the boxes. The Algebraist by Ian M. Banks. My understanding is this is a standalone novel. This is one that Alicia Reads and Rambles sent my way because she found it to just be okay. And I said I had expressed interest in it. So she was kind enough to send it. And this is also on Michael from Fit to Be Red's top 150. So I'll be getting to that sooner rather than later, hopefully. Ian M. Banks, Consider Phelps. This is the first of the Culture novels, which I got on my library or my indie bookstore tour. So this is a nice, not trade paperback, whatever trade paperback, not mass market is what I have the most of. I get those confused all the time. I'm confused all the time. William Barton, Dark Sky Legion. I don't know. Maybe this is a Steve Donahue cover right there. So maybe he'd like this just for that cover. He's probably read it. Probably read it multiple times. We have Iris by William Barton and Michael Capobianco, author of White Light. So looks like an interesting cover. We see some planets there, so you have kind of a sense of where you're at. We have a book that I picked up on Thrift Books at the recommendation of Michael from Fit to Be Read. He did a fantastic job of selling this. The Need to Have, The Star's My Destination by Alfred Bester. And I read this last year, and it made my cut for the top 10 of new to me books that I read. I absolutely loved this. It is the Count of Monte Cristo light in sci-fi. It is an unlikable protagonist, but it is a fantastic revenge story, and I'm absolutely delighted to have read this. And it's one that is going to stay because I'm going to want to reread this. And then the true successor to The Star's My Destination. This is The Deceivers by Alfred Bester. So I don't know anything about this. It looks like it is a different person. Yeah. So it's no longer following Gurney Foyle. But I'm excited to dive into this sometime this year, hopefully. We have Monument by Lloyd Biggle Jr. So I got a box of mostly science fiction that was hardcovers as well. And so this is one of those in there. As was Watchers of the Dark by Lloyd Biggold Jr. If you know anything about Lloyd Biggold Jr., let me know. He's got his family portrait on the back. Devoted 20 years to the study of music. So he might be the only prominent science fiction writer with a PhD in musicology. I mean, that's interesting, right? I wonder if music has any part in what he writes about. We have Day of the Dragon Star by David F. Bischoff and Thomas F. Montaloni. So this is a perfect Jurassic World made to order, made to last. Sounds really promising. It's a rousing space adventure and prehistorical quest by Roger Zelazny. Quote by Roger Zelazny. We have Mandala by David F. Bischoff. So, co-author of Day of the Dragon Star. I mean, that's a good enough book that they're calling him out on that. Then we have Night of the Dragon Star. So, Revolt of the Dinosaurs on a World-Sized Ship. I assume this is a sequel. We have Any When by James Blish. This is a collection of short stories. And then most of the rest of this you've seen recently. Because around the holiday time, I showed this off as the last eBay box that finally delivered to me had a lot of Ray Bradbury. Not all of this was in that box, but where did Ray Bradbury now? So From the Dust Returned. This is one that my son picked out for me for Christmas, and I'm excited to read it. I read the kind of synopsis of it, and it sounds really interesting. A Graveyard for Lunatics, which I just read last year. It was, of the 5 Bradburys I've read, it is my least favorite so far, but that doesn't mean it was a bad book by any means. We have The Golden Apples of the Sun, a National Book Award winner. We have I Sing the Body Electric by Stories by Ray Bradbury. I've heard a lot about that one. I want to read that one soon. Long After Midnight. It's 22 Hauntings and Celebrations. We have One More for the Road by Ray Bradbury. It's like there's a dragon following along behind the car. Quicker Than the Eye by Ray Bradbury. We have R is for Rocket. Jim from Books, Reading, and Stuff probably appreciates the title of that one, as well as S is for Space, which I wanted to try to get to in November. Didn't work out, but I mean, it's a short little one. Hopefully this is the year. Timeless Stories for Today and Tomorrow. The last Bradbury on this shelf. There's one more Bradbury on a different shelf just because of size and fitting it where I wanted it to be. The Toynbee Convector by Ray Bradbury. Got 2 more books here to finish our first shelf. So we have Otherness by David Brin. So this is collected stories by a modern master of science fiction. He is the Hugo and Nebula award-winning author of Glory Season. So let's see, what have we got in here? So we've got kind of little subcategories here. We've got transitions, contact, continuity, cosmos, and otherness. So it'll be interesting. I'm always happy to read more short stories, especially science fiction, because that's where it really broke through. Then the last book on here, we've got William Brinkley, The Last Ship. Interesting cover choice there. It wraps all the way around. So And there you have it. There is the first of the library tours. Again, every Saturday I'm going to do a new video doing a new shelf. So next week, stay tuned for more Edgar Rice Burroughs than you can shake a stick at, unless you're Michael K. Vaughan, who covered even more Edgar Rice Burroughs books than what I'm going to be showing off. So thank you, BookTube, and thank you, Steve, for the exciting challenge to go through the library.